Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Petty Officer Joshua O'Halloran. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We also acknowledge the members of the RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching this ceremony broadcast across Australia. This evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Corporal Norman Robert Cairns. Norman Robert Cairns was born in August 1895 to Stella and John Cairns of the Sydney suburb of Arncliffe. He was the third child of 3 sons and a daughter born to the couple. Early in Norman's childhood, his family moved to South Brisbane. He attended Brisbane Central Boys College and joined the senior cadets. After leaving school, Cairns worked as a clerk and also served in local militia, parading part-time with the 3rd Battery of the Australian Field Artillery. In December 1915, Cairns volunteered for service in the Australian Imperial Force along with his older brother John. The pair trained for several months at an inaugural military base in Brisbane and were appointed to the 36th Battery of the 9th Field Artillery Brigade. In May 1916, the brigade travelled to Sydney and departed Australia on board the transport ship Argyleshire, arriving in England in early July. Cairns continued his training at Larkhill Camp and was promoted to bombardier. In the crowded army camps, sickness was common, and Cairns fell ill soon after arriving in England. He spent the rest of the year recovering. In March 1917, he returned from hospital to Larkhill Camp. After completing his training, he sailed to France in June. He continued to convalesce and train behind the lines in France and was briefly posted to an artillery battery in October. He was with this unit a short time and joined the 108th Howitzer Battery in February 1918. He was promoted to corporal in March. His brother John was serving in the same battery. In May 1918, John and other members of the battery were swimming in the river Somme, where John accidentally drowned. Norman attended his older brother's funeral. The 8th Field Artillery Brigade saw service in major Allied offensives between July and the armistice in November 1918. By this late stage of the war, the combined arms of infantry, artillery, armour and aircraft were operating smoothly together. At the outset of the major British offensive on the 8th of August, the brigade's war diary noted that the Australian guns had begun their barrage precisely to the second. The armistice on the 11th of November 1918 saw the guns fall silent on the Western Front. In the weeks following the armistice, Cairns' brigade carried out routine cleaning and maintenance of the guns. The men also aided the veterinary checks of the brigade's horses. Rest for the men included sports days with teams representing 4 batteries of the brigade. As winter approached, the weather became cold, wet and frosty. The battery spent December in billets near the town of Haumont in northern France, near the Belgian border. Over the winter months, the men continued their routine work. More sports matches, as well as theatre performances by some of the soldiers, broke up the monotony. In early February, Cairns became ill. He was evacuated to the 5th Casualty Clearing Station at the nearby town of Maubeuge, suffering from bronchial pneumonia. His condition worsened rapidly and he died on the 12th of February 1919. Norman Cairns was 23 years old. He was buried in Maubeuge Cemetery alongside more than 100 Commonwealth soldiers. His grieving parents chose lines from a contemporary poem as the inscription, "Fighting for God, for right and liberty. Such a death is immortality." This was the same inscription they had chosen for his brother. Norman's elder brother, Gunner Alan Cairns, also served in the artillery with the 12th Field Artillery Brigade. He survived the war and returned to Australia in 1919. Corporal Norman Robert Cairns is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right among 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal Norman Robert Cairns, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope for a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as with a left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director and staff, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorials Development Project. And we wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.